Welcome everybody to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The mud flood was the Armageddon. I hope you've never heard that before, but I also hope that my friends are here that have heard that before because mud flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. This was a day I was busy working, didn't write an intro. As a living stone, I, like you and everyone else, are reserved for godly, righteous judgment. I wonder if I think I might have wrote that today. So there was something, but man, I got busy right away today. Well, I was busy contemplating. I made a video. We might look at it. I think we will. I went by the library. It used to be pretty much a white college. It's not anymore. Most, Hispanics and everything. I just thought that this is the basketball team, the varsity and the junior varsity girls basketball team from the 1950s. There's me at the library. Look at this is one of the founders of this was in the founder of the university's house. This is, back in the Gilded Age. Everything was nice. This is from 1920, enameled brass. Didn't mean to put myself in the picture, but there I am. Freemasonic sword. This is its scabbard. They've got it brand new, and their little daggers and stuff. They got the Major Heads Knight Templar cap from the 1880. Everything about the West was planned. This was a plan. That must be the guy holding the sword. Little reflection there. Looks kind of weird, huh? So that was upstairs in a loom that they used to. I think they captured that from the Native Americans. This gold funded faked everything. Did I only put faked? It's supposed to be faked everything. Just look at that picture. There's no volume, but man, I did that today. I my grass was out to here. It had, and I don't know if you saw the pile, but that's a pretty good pile of dirt right there. And so we're gonna look at these, laid out these rocks and made a few videos, but that was harder than I thought. So we'll look at these rocks, some heart-shaped rocks later. Let's see, wasn't there something I saw this Satan Comes to Rochester. Seemed like a good video. Rochester, he's sad about it, but the more I listen, he might be a British Israelite, but he's got a point. I mean, they got a demon in the chapel. Did we cover this? How they wear their clothes? Only rich people could dress up. The thing was a tower adopted by God. There's another picture. This was their school. So they say. This must be the football field. I live over here. So they're kind of vague. This is one of the largest ceramic water bowls in the world, I guess. I put that chair there for scale. That's what they say. Another fancy clock. It's just that we missed something. And this was in there. The guy who owned that clock owned this. Now, what they say is they think that this was some sort of an embellishment that they took off and glued onto this wood. So the wood is not original, and you can see it's a svastika, SV, svastika, not a swastika. But is that not a Tartarian type of what you'd expect? So that's the looks like he's holding a lotus flower. There's the full thing. It's the bottom. So some sort of an applique. So this is supposedly the Freemasons, the Grand Lodge. You know, they got there in 1880 and planned everything with the as soon as the railroads could get them there. And there's nothing there. So I mean, there really isn't any of the, these are all the Kit Town buildings, but this is our town in the 1920s. I mean, got to be a couple hundred Ku Klux Klanners, right? You buy these towns in the kits, and you can see it's you know, they covered these up now with stucco and beer signs and stuff, but these are all kits. And I don't, this one is not here anymore, I don't think. Okay. So that was good. All right. So now, what, before we look at the stones, I wanted to just say I was sitting around here looking today and listening to some other stuff in between doing that yard work and setting up the stones and stuff. And I was thinking, I know it convincing, and I was doing a thing about the stones. I do the stones. I do the stones. It's a flat earth nation. The stones cried out. And then there was premillennialism and the golden age passed. And the Lord started both of those movements right here. And yet I'm one of the smallest content providers going on this whole thing. And I think it's because if I would have just like, wow, that's really cool, like just stick with, I'm going to show you some at Grand Junction. And, I did this video 6 years ago about William Palmer. I used to study these things, hit them, prove it to myself, make a video. And I remember it was super easy to do. General Palmer found the Confederate gold, and then they used it. He acted like he found some, and then he gave back some of it. But then he bought everything. He paid for the Kit Town of Colorado Springs to be built, and it had telephones. You could only talk to other people in Colorado Springs, but it was the full blown show. Let's find out about or Colorado Springs. We'll look at. I spent 2 years trying to get onto NORAD, mysteriously hanging around. I worked through asbestos because of all the asbestos shenanigans we did at the world's largest Christian homeschool organization that the Lord just happened to have me working at, where they took it and threw it in the trash, and then claimed that we're the only building that we don't know. It's the only building in America. So I was going to get to the bottom of is asbestos safe, because they had me help take it out, and they're going like, asbestos is just an insurance hoax. So I spent 2 years there. I did get on the Air Force Academy, Peterson Air Force Base, Fort Carson, and NORAD. Showed the pictures. They said, don't take no pictures. I said, I'm taking a picture, man. That's Pikes Peak. Hey, there's the Will Rogers Shrine of the Sun. One of those things, they loved their Will Rogers. I think he was a comedian cowboy. So, we could have made a big deal out of, I could have made a ton of, a mystery, the El Paso courthouse, the biggest county. Now this is Glen Eagle, I think it is. And The legend is he loved his wife so much, and she was from England. He bought her a castle and shipped it over stone by stone, and they put it right back together the way it was supposed to be. That's when you're General Palmer and you retire, you build the Broadmoor, you build Glen Erie, you found the railroads. That's relatively new, the Olympic stuff. Pikes Peak. Supposedly, she wrote the song looking down on this valley because, I mean, you really go, this is the Front Range. This is, might as well be Kansas, but it's Colorado, but it looks like Kansas, right? Coming up here, this is Colorado Springs. How's that song go? Not this land is your land. That's Woody Guthrie. And Tesla, the magnifying transmitter, he ended up there too. Small world. What? That looks like a fog from the space station. Come on, give me a break. Nixon at the Air Force Academy, another Garden of the Gods. Not now. They say somehow a whole mountain range built up, eroded, and then kicked up again, and it took the first part with it and only left the top of it. It's you can't believe their history. It's jokety doodah, but that's always fun to. I got to see that. Pulpit Rock. Look at that. Doric. Not Ionic, not Corinthian. This is just the pedestrian place. That's what their lowest form. All right, so the Colorado Springs. Everybody knows about it. Now old Colorado City, now a neighborhood, was once a town. Because when William or Colonel General Palmer founded Colorado, he's a teetotaler. So they had Colorado Springs prohibited the use of alcohol. But so Colorado Springs built opium dens and whorehouses and saloons. Founded 1959, gold rushing. So they say they had to fill it out. We'll get to the gold rush. The Colorado Springs land was New France as late as 1682, New Spain in 1762. So less than 100, or what was that, 1859, and that's deep. Soda Springs. So the gold rush, Pikes Peak or bust, they had their own gold rush. This was the first one. I guess they founded that first. They didn't want to waste any time and say hope they might not build an opium den. So there was a second Antlers Hotel. Okay. There's your historic district. And this isn't even Colorado Springs. That is. Yeah, they're showing Colorado. Some of these are Colorado Springs. And Colorado City is over here. I saw it had the deaf and blind school, and of course, they had one of those in Wisconsin. Wow, 1944. It was still not that big. But it is a town that is on a mountain next to a bigger mountain, just like Alamosa. We're in a prairie, so but we're surrounded by mountains. But our prairie, our flat prairie that has a desert, is 7,500 feet. That's big. So this is not General Palmer. This isn't, but Palmer was a pretty popular name, I guess. This guy was an Illinois resident, Civil War general, governor, 15th governor. So when I saw the general and a Palmer, I just clicked it, man. I mean, so, and then I'm there like, oh no, I was looking for this guy. Look at how serious he is. This guy was determined. I think he got put into a wheelchair because he kept trying to climb up the west face of Pikes Peak or something, and he ended up losing his legs. He's not the only person I've heard of that. Brigadier General, there he is, the man put in charge of go find the Confederate gold. He faked a Medal of Honor. He's one of those stolen valor guys. We'll read about that, I'm sure. One of his railroads. Now, this just looks like it's in front of the school. This is in the middle of the road. You can see the front of a car. You have to go around this. It's not a cul-de-sac. It is just a statue in the middle of the road that both you go around. It's crazy. And there's Queen Palmer. She was from Mary Lincoln Mellon. Mellon Bank, anybody? Yeah, that Mellon family. This sergeant, he's the very famous. He's the guy that did that. I think he did that one famous picture everybody likes, and so when you get paid when he gets you, you're paying big money because he found the Confederate gold. Because brigadier generals don't retire on that much money. A little bit maybe overrated, huh? Maybe. So anyway, received the Medal of Honor for his actions of continuously submitting it and saying, what about this? Does this qualify? What about this? Does this qualify? It actually took him a couple of tries. Early in his career, he helped develop the expanding railroad. So that's how he got they even trained him how to build railroads. He built railroads from Mexico City to Colorado Springs. He was the man all over the West. After the war, he contributed financially to educational efforts for the freed slaves. They all it's I don't buy it. Kansas Pacific. So I think he married somebody he met over there in England. He traveled. Went to England, Denver and Rio Grande. That was the big deal. Short track or short gauge, narrow gauge. So notable for introducing the United States practices of burning coal rather than wood. Well, that takes a lot of wood to make coal. He helped develop related industries in Colorado. He founded the city in 1871, as well as several other communities. Palmer founded Colorado Springs as a dry community based on his Quaker and temperance beliefs. Tuberculosis, that was a tourist trap. They sent people here, said just breathing the air in Colorado will make you so happy. So brought the queen over. This is the guy that found the gold. Now, so his Civil War service, we're going to skip all his. Began in 1861. He had Quaker upbringing, so he abhorred violence, passionate abolitionist, so he had to enlist. He took a commission with the Union Army, organized the Anderson Troop, before the fall from In 10 days of recruiting, Palmer received enough applications for enlistment to form a regiment. So that's how you do it. You just get out there. He and a portion of it were ordered on September 9th to help the Army of the Potomac to resist Confederate invasion of Maryland. For nearly a week, Palmer, accompanied by a telegrapher, and transmitted his findings right to the head. See, this guy, head of the Freemasons, I mean, the Union Army. And so, anyway, he got caught as a spy, incarcerated into the Castle Thunder prison on Tobacco Row. Doesn't look that bad now, does it? But anyway, where his true identity was never uncovered, because they would have said, "Oh, he's a spy." We'll find out how he got this here. He was on the Confederate side of the river with that telegrapher, again garbed in civilian clothes. That's the death penalty. Accompanied by a local blacksmith and a person as his guides, attempting to recross to the Union side after midnight when he was captured by Confederate artillerymen sent to guard the dam he used for the crossing. When questioned, Palmer gave his name as Peters, claimed to be an engineer on an inspection trip, was interrogated by a general who thought he was a spy. He was detained with a rambling note that was ignored, incarcerated. Yet doubts about his identity were apparently reinforced by publications of a fictitious dispatch. Oh man. Rather than risk Palmer's life by publication of circumstances, he remained imprisoned until Palmer's application to Secretary of War Edward Stanton resulted in his release. So what? You can get captured by was he captured by the Union? Something. This is a crazy story. Anyway, it goes on and on. He wanted to get a Medal of Honor for being captured. Let's see. So mutinous behaviors. This is. I don't want it to make it too long. Let's get to the point here. Let's find that. So gradually, Palmer was vigorous in pursuing John Bell Hood. You know why? He had the money. After the Battle of Nashville on 1864, on March 9th, 1965, President Abraham Lincoln nominated Palmer for appointment to brevet grade Brigadier General of Volunteers at the age of 28, with the U.S. Senate confirming the appointment the next day on March 16th. That before the week was out, he was promoted to the 1st Brigade, went out to go look for more money. Palmer was in the vanguard of Union General George Stoneman's 1865 raid into Virginia, North Carolina, in the last 2 months of the war. And everybody was trying to hide the gold then. Palmer's cavalry defeated on April 8th a Confederate force commanded by a Colonel James Wheeler, cousin of Confederate cavalry commander Fighting Joe Wheeler. If Palmer had pushed on to Danville only 20 miles to the north, he might well have captured Jefferson Davis, who had all the money. They were all running together, who up to then had not left the capital of the Confederacy. Davis subsequently left the next day upon receiving word of Lee's surrender. This is a little known campaign immortalized in the band's epic "The Night There's No Dixie Down," and all the bells were ringing. Palmer commanded the cavalry pursuit. He commanded the get on your horses. Let's go catch that renegade president. Following the surrender of General Joseph E. Johnson, Davis was followed through North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, probably making handshake deals all the way about how they're going to split it up with their Freemason pals. They don't even, okay, so They just barely mention it here. During the pursuit, Palmer's former command overtook and captured wagons carrying hundreds of millions, it says millions of dollars of paper money. Now remember, bonds, they were doing business with, they were a nation for 4 years. They were doing business with foreign countries, securities, notes, and other Confederate. Why doesn't it say gold? Because they had the gold. So he got right after that. This was all like you got to be a general in April or March. And then April, May, June, I'm done. I captured the gold. I'm done. February 4th, he was awarded a Medal of Honor for his actions as a colonel leading the 15th Pennsylvania Cavalry at Red Hill, Alabama. With less than 200 men, attacked and defeated a superior force of enemies, captured a field piece and about 100 prisoners without losing a man. It sounds like they were ready to give up. It was the 1865. The war was going to be over in a couple of weeks. He had applied before. It's just no good. So he finds this railroad. So they really, the Confederate gold. And I did more on it before, and tracked it down. But I just want to keep this as a general idea of how much fun it would be if I didn't have this calling to where the stones cried out, and all the stones are body parts of humans or titans reserved in judgment to teach us. And everybody runs with that. Now it could be elephants or anything, it makes no sense to the Bible, but they know it's something, but so that it just can't be what I say it is. But here I could just say, well, you don't know. I think he got it, but you don't have to agree. Confederate gold. What do they say happened to it? It says refers to hidden caches of gold lost after the Civil War. Millions of dollars worth of gold was lost or unaccounted for after the war. Well, if I had more time to go in exactly what it is like to buy a kit town with telephones and everything else and ship it there, ship a house from England, money was no problem. And it was a Freemason gag. He didn't do it himself. So everybody talks about it. Everybody dreams about it. But when I'm coming around here, and I'm showing you in the long run, no, they did it. All righty. Grand Junction. This is the town I lived in too when I moved to the western slope. Yeah. Getting my hand is cramping. So I guess November 1882. I looked that up because I was going to see like when did they break the treaty? So the railroad got to Grand Junction. Says December 82. First mail arrived by train. November 82, a railroad bridge over the Colorado River at the confluence. The first train arrived minutes before 5 o'clock on November 21st. You know that November 22nd was when Kennedy was killed, but that was 90 years later. All right. So that when the train reached Grand Junction, that's when in September 1881, the former Indian Territory was abolished and they were forced to a reservation. You got to go now. The train's here. We're going to be bringing tons more. They're not coming on wagons anymore, taking their time, man. We're bringing them by the train load and we got no room for you. So really it's basically just goodbye. And I remember when I was there, it was, I was brand new. I hadn't even started. Grand Junction, when I lived there, is when I started Flat Earth Nation. Golden age past. And I looked at Grand Junction so much. I thought, and that's when I realized, I was finding, Titans, and it's weird. I lived over here now, but right outside, because it's all irrigated. It's all counting on the Colorado River. No, and over here is Palisade. This is one of the first places that they admitted that they used pesticides. Let's see, Fourth Avenue by the river. So that's Fifth. I stayed here for a year. This was my house, and it was nice. It was just right there. And, I had the truck, and I was kind of not working too hard, making my living. But I was always fascinated with, because, it's like right to here. Now, this is just a straight up cliff that leads to the mesa. All of this, you can kind of tell here, but that's what this is too. And I always saw this online and wanted to go see, well, what is this thing? You know, because this is a house and you can see what part of it's used today, but it sure does have a square. And then this thing, with it's round on both ends. And that's it. It just kept getting weirder. This is, and this draws people in a lot more than the Bible does. They don't want to hear about that, but there's all kinds of this weird stuff, and you can't get on it because it's all private property. And probably over closer to Grand Junction is where there were some places. I was doing this, and I don't know if I'll be able to find them, but it is. You've seen them before. Just all of a sudden, there's like, wow, was there a town in the middle of nowhere before, and now it's not there? There. So that's fun. Grand Junction is fun. The Ute people, they lived here. They dressed in nice clothes. They lived here a long time. They weren't prepared to get double crossed, although they should have been when they had double crossed everybody else. But these guys, I mean, they'd take them to Washington, D.C., and they can understand, oh, we're going to do this for you and you and you and you and you. But then they didn't. They only did it for a little while and said, you know what, that's not going to work for us anymore. We're going to have to ask you to move again or we'll kill you. Now they're doing the gourd dance. Did you know that the gourd dance and the Ute Indians are given credit for, I don't know if they'll mention it, but their gourd dance has piezoelectric. When they shake them, it lights up. It shows little sparks through the skin, of the leather. It's very interesting. I'm, I'm not in their religion, but I think that it's pretty cool. There's one. Quartz crystals, ceremonial rattle filled with quartz crystals. The rattle produces flashes of light, mechanoluminescence created when quartz crystals are subjected to mechanical stress. Smoke them in the peace pipe. Huh. I don't know anything about that flower. There are 11 bands, tribes, and, you know, straight, back from the, oh, this is what I'd want to do if I got hits. I'd be back to the Bible thing. I'm in Alamosa because I believe we're so far away. Less than 0.2% of the population live within 400 miles of here. And that Denver is way far away, two mountain range. Uh, this is a safe place to be because China wants their money. Russia wants their money. The world's sick and tired of us going around being the, hey, look at us. We saved the world when atomic bombs weren't even real. That's all part of the fake. So it's coming down. And I plan on hopefully influencing some people to say, well, if it gets too bad, we can go to the mountains and find the places. Because once they found, Monteverde and, oh, look, a tower, people can go, they lived up in cliff dwellings. They're everywhere. They found their tourist trap. That's good. I think that there will be a group of people that live and are the you know, last to survive, saved by when fire comes down from Satan trying to encompass us about. So we'll be taking their places. And look how safely they stored their children. I was looking at these Vanderbilts. They were weird, but you know that. So would these look like rocks? If these were dirty, would you think that a rock could be a body part? But if it was, boom, made into a rock and covered with dirt, would you even know, or would you just think dirty rock? It's just a dirty rock. It gets tight in there. You can't even barely see the gallbladder. But here's the liver. These things are all touching, and they caught. When the glittering sword was in play from our Father, the Bible never said anybody drowned in the flood. It says they perished. They were in water. They were running. They were panicked. They were turning. Some were repenting. That would have been the equivalent of saying, I wish I would have listened to Noah. We kind of deserve this. But you're moving, you're running, you're fighting. You might be wounded, but then you get hit with the glittering sword, and whatever that flesh was and the frequency God set, boom, you turn to stone. And if every prophecy wasn't fulfilled, the stones that were reserved in judgment could have cried out. That's what he said. Tell your disciples to tell your people to quit saying, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Oh, no, they have to, or the stones will cry out. Why did John the Baptist say, don't act like you're a big deal because you're claimed to be a Hebrew? God can raise up descendants from these stones to Abraham. It's all about the stones. Everybody knows it, or they will, especially that I'm probably going to go ahead and go start getting the gold. But like the stones I'm going to show you, you're going to be looking for curves and indentations, the succuluses, bandings. When I say, like usually the heart, these parts fall off. Sometimes these fall off. Sometimes this rips off too. When, depends on where you were twisting, where your heart was beating, you know, how your lungs were beating at that time. But it's a busy thing going on, man. You get in the picture. Does that look like a rock? It does, but it's not. Does this look like a rock? No, it's a model. Oh, yeah. I made this video. It's not on YouTube. It's kind of stupid, but I was tired from doing all of this yard work.
Day, I got tired of all the overgrown sidewalk, probably half covered. And I'm on a thing here with the university where I'll take care of my own weeds. I'll do my own yard. I don't want their Roundup and their pesticides and herbicides on me. But that's not why we're here. We're going to look at the rocks.
Those are the
Just
worst.
quick overview of them.
But every shape, every
put some
knob,
water
every
on
hole, it was attached to something, and then the blood vein, washed away, but the muscle remained.
Some sort of a crystal. Is that crazy or what? We'll see these things wet here. Un momento.
Little bilingual for you. What is that kind of rock? But all of those curves, they were pressed by
Nice
other
succulus
organs.
point right there.
Succulus point.
That looks a little hydrophobic.
Yeah, the water splashed off it. Now, even on this, you can see there's a line. This is a pure white stone. If you polish it, it'll be like, oh, it's crystal. It was something. This is a gold, silver, and precious stones is what we're living stones. Please the Father, he loves to give rewards. And you can't carry your treasure with you except in your resurrected body. It's your body. But you can see it's got little dots. It's got little segments. I'll get more pictures of these, if Lord willing.
Half a rock.
But this rock must have just been a heart that was, pretty much caught in the middle of its, it's not twisting at all. You can't see the helical heart in that one. I might have embellished this heart because I think that's alabaster, and I don't believe that is a heartstone. But that is. I'll explain it later. You'll see the backside of that is you'll want to stick around. Look at that steep cliff. That was pushed up
all
against
those marks. Blood vessels or veins, something leading to it. This is a 2/3 of a heart. You can see the spiral pattern. These have had some work on it. I tried to drill a hole in this one.
My drill was too fast. It got too hot.
Granted, not much
to look at.
Or what you can see here.
That's going to be a good one to,
This one seems particularly intriguing to me, the way it's got this.
Yeah. It just seems obvious it was in motion and pushed up against
extra
something.
Layer here. Something was attached there and ripped off. This was a body part. These curves that you see on a lot of these, especially this part right here, This is where it was pushed up against another organ. That's why, it's smooth and round. Same with this rounded edge here. All of these have rounded edges because they're in a very tight, compact situation in the body of titans and humans who are about to die like men. Now, you can see some patterns on this.
That didn't focus as well as I had hoped, but it looks like a mitten, doesn't it? Every pattern, everything was a muscle,
This little,
was a vein, an artery.
Investment here, probably the tip when it was going on to the helical heart. Now, the spirals, you can't miss them right here, right?
That is, if this will be a
Because
definitive
the heart
shot.
is a rope.
Whether or not I'm even around when people are like, obviously this is a helical heart and this is what it is. This is it. You heard it here first. And I give all praise and glory to Jesus Christ. Thank you for your blood.
It is the Gordian knot. With a rock like this, it's a little more rough, but it has the bottom where you could probably see an investment. This is where it was attached and ripped off, because this one might have been a particularly good one. You can see exposed metal on it.
I think I get it pretty focused here in a second. Pyrite. Where there's pyrite, there's gold. No pyrite,
a little bit closer.
no gold. That's the tip of that flip when you
See how
untie
these
it.
are?
You're going to tell me that the mountain blew up and it just didn't, they consistently end up with a vortex heart?
Pretty hard to miss the pattern unless you want to.
Yeah, unless you don't have eyes to see.
Those are little gaps where they're twisting around.
Spin it. So I'm done, I guess, huh?
And I'll try to pull up some body parts in situ, and we can compare and just see what a tight situation is going on in there.
Wow, that's a close-up. Man. So this is going to be good. I know that with everything that's going on, boy, everybody dropped off, but thanks for anybody that stuck around. This is going to be a good year. I mean, there are ways that when you have time to work with rocks and you can do it, and I can talk to people here, I can talk to whoever's listening now. There's so many different ways to prove this. Like with an average rock, you can tell what it weighs, weigh it, how much water it displaces, see how much water it displaces. And then you can say, wow, based on this volume, it must have this much precious ore in it, because regular on their atomic scale, gold, silver, palladium, and to a lesser extent copper, they're all heavier. All the other ones weigh the same. So when you get a stone that goes, this stone weighs much more than that stone, it can only be for one reason. It can, and they know that. And I've been telling people that, but I can't tell it every day. I'm not, but when you deal with stones, it's going to be like that guy Street Tips who, it started using when the chemicals that I used, hydrogen peroxide, muriatic acid, and now he's just crushing stones and putting it on computer parts, and he's getting gold and silver like it's going out of style. That's not what this ministry was about, but that's where it's going right now, because that going and dealing with the stones, gold and silver and gemstones are a byproduct of proving that all rocks are body parts. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope nobody, I know me and my friends are never going to tell you anything, but it's a flat earth nation and the golden ages past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. Slowly, line upon line, we have been proving it. I mean, mostly me and RJ. And we don't care how long it takes. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara.